Okay, let's get into it. Today, we're doing a deep dive into an idea that sounds almost mundane, but it's incredibly profound psychologically.
You mean set your house in perfect order before you criticize the world?
Exactly that. It's not just about tidying up, is it? It's about something much deeper. It's about radical responsibility.
Absolutely. It's one of the most potent pieces of psychological wisdom out there. Seems simple, almost trivial sometimes.
Right, like just clean your room.
But it's actually a powerful prescription for regaining competence, for building self-respect, especially when everything else feels chaotic and out of control.
So when the world feels overwhelming, the news is crazy, your life feels messy.
Yeah.
The most effective thing you can do is focus small.
Precisely. Focus on the micro scale, your desk, your schedule, the commitments you've made right here, right now. That's where your leverage is.
Okay, so our mission today is to unpack how that works. How does cleaning your desk translate to, well, larger resilience?
We're going to synthesize insights from some heavy hitters. We've got behavioral science from B.F. Skinner, cognitive dissonance theory from Leon Festinger,
Okay.
James Clear on habits, of course, and then some really interesting work on neurological safety and trauma from Porges and Levine.
So a real multidisciplinary look.
Exactly. We want to show you the actual mechanism, why ordering your immediate world isn't just about neatness. It's the foundational step.
The foundation for what? For tackling the bigger stuff.
For tackling the bigger stuff, for building internal stability, and honestly, it's a potent antidote to that feeling of victimhood.
Right, that feeling of being powerless.
We'll show how this local control yields quick, tangible, psychological wins. Why not having clear internal goals leads to that chronic sort of mental anguish.
And how this internal order is basically a prerequisite for deeper healing, for recovery. It's about taking back control, starting with what's right in front of you. Okay, so the world feels huge, complex, maybe terrifying.
Yeah.
Where do you even begin to exert control?
And the sources we're looking at are really clear on this. You start where you have essentially 100% agency. Your immediate environment, your physical space, your immediate actions and behaviors. That is the launching pad for self-efficacy.
It sounds so basic, but I guess we often overlook it. We want to fix the big things first.
We do. But sustainable change, especially establishing order, needs to become habitual. And that brings us straight to James Clear.
Right, his habit loop model.
The 4 stages: cue, craving, response, reward. Clear argues pretty convincingly that a habit won't form or stick unless all 4 are present.
And failure in any one stage means the habit collapses.
Exactly. It's
Yeah.
not usually about willpower failing. It's the system failing. Maybe the cue isn't obvious enough.
Or the reward isn't satisfying enough.
Precisely. Most people, when they think about getting organized, they just focus on the response, the actual cleaning or sorting.
The effort part.
Yeah. But if the cue to start is weak, like your cleaning supplies are buried in a closet somewhere,
Or the reward feels too far off. Like, my house will eventually be clean.
then the habit just fizzles out. It needs to be easy and satisfying now.
Which ties into Claire's laws of behavior change. The third law, right? Make it easy.
Absolutely. If starting the orderly behavior requires a ton of friction, you'll avoid it. If you want to deal with your mail, don't have it piling up in a corner.
Have a specific, easy-to-access spot right where you come in.
Make order the path of least resistance. Reduce the friction to almost zero.
And then the fourth law,
Yeah.
make it satisfying. This is about the immediate feedback loop.
Yes. Your brain needs to register a quick win, a little dopamine hit from seeing the clean counter or checking off the task.
That immediate sense of, that's better.
If you don't get that satisfaction, your brain basically tags the activity as pointless effort, not worth repeating.
Okay, so make it easy, make it satisfying. But what about stopping the disorderly habits that create the mess in the first place?
Now we get to the really practical application of setting your house in order. This is the inversion of the first law. Make it invisible.
So instead of making good habit cues obvious, you make bad habit cues disappear.
Exactly. Your environment is constantly sending signals. If you have piles of stuff everywhere, the signal is piling stuff is normal here.
Dirty dishes in the sink signal. It's okay to leave dishes here.
Constant phone notification signal. Distraction is the default. Chaos becomes the norm because the cues for it are everywhere.
So making the cues invisible means literally hiding the temptations.
Or removing them entirely. If social media distracts you, the cue isn't just the notification sound, it's the phone itself being visible on your desk.
So put it in a drawer or another room.
If clutter accumulates on your coffee table, design that space so it can't easily accumulate clutter. Maybe put a decorative object there. Remove the invitation.
You're essentially becoming an environmental engineer for your own behavior.
That's a great way to put it. You are actively manipulating your surroundings to support the person you want to be and to undermine the habits you want to break. It's deliberate.
And that gives you immediate psychological leverage.
Which connects beautifully to B.F. Skinner's work. He wasn't focused on deep internal states initially, but on observable behavior
Operant conditioning, right. Behavior operates on the environment.
to produce consequences. It's a feedback loop. Action, consequence, likelihood of repeating the action.
And Skinner was quite optimistic about this, wasn't he? He thought we could solve big problems this way.
He really was. He stated very clearly that changes in the environment have quick and dramatic effects on the individual. He believed we already had a technology of behavior that could be up to the task of our biggest
It
challenges.
feels incredibly empowering. If your life is a mess, don't just sit and ruminate. Change your environment. Change the inputs.
It's a call to action. But you raised a good point earlier. Does it feel cheap sometimes, like you're just manipulating yourself? Where's the virtue in that?
Yeah, like I'm only cleaning because I set up this system, not because I'm suddenly a good person.
Okay, this is where Skinner's credit paradox is so insightful. He noticed that we don't really give people credit, praise, admiration, self-respect when the reasons for their behavior are obvious and external.
Like the example of the teenager cleaning their room only because they'll get grounded if they don't.
Exactly. The cause is conspicuous. It's the threat of punishment. We credit the threat, not the kid's newfound sense of responsibility.
So if I only organize my desk because my boss is coming over, I don't really feel good about myself for doing it. I just feel relief from pressure.
Precisely. The cause is external and obvious, but, and this is the crucial part, when you are the one designing the system.
When I decide to make the cues invisible, when I set up the satisfying reward.
When you manipulate your environment to produce the positive outcome, the cause is attributed internally. You did that. You created the order.
Ah, so the locus of control shifts. It's not an external force making me do it. It's me acting on my world.
Exactly. This self-generated control is fundamentally different from behavior under obvious external pressure, or aversive control, as Skinner called it.
And that's where the self-respect comes from. It's earned.
It is genuinely earned. The simple, deliberate act of cleaning your desk, when done as a conscious choice to impose order you designed, becomes an act of self-creation.
It's building evidence for your own competence.
That's the core of it. You're generating proof. And that feeling of competence is the most powerful antidote we have to feelings of helplessness, chaos, or victimhood. It starts right here, in your immediate space.
Okay, so we've used environmental control, maybe Skinner's ideas, Clear's laws, to create some external order. We've tidied the desk, managed the inbox. We feel a flicker of competence.
That initial crucial win.
But then comes the hard part, right? Maintaining it.
Yeah.
Because my internal self might still feel like a messy, disorganized person. How do you stop the old identity from sabotaging the new order?
Now we venture into the internal landscape. And this is Leon Festinger's territory. Cognitive dissonance.
That uncomfortable feeling when your beliefs and actions don't line up.
Exactly. Festinger argued it's a fundamental, basically unavoidable consequence of making any choice or holding any belief. You have two conflicting cognitions, ideas, values, perceptions of actions, and it creates psychological tension, discomfort.
And the more important the conflicting ideas are to you, the worse the dissonance feels.
Absolutely. So let's take your example. Cognition A. I deeply value being seen as competent and reliable. Cognition B. My workspace is a disaster zone, and I miss that deadline again.
Oof. Yeah, that gap feels bad. It's stressful.
That stress, that dissonance, demands resolution. Our minds hate inconsistency. Festinger found we use specific strategies to reduce this discomfort.
Okay, like what? How do we try to make ourselves feel better about the conflict?
One major way is to amplify the positives of the choice you made or the identity you're trying to adopt, and downplay the positives of the alternative you rejected.
So if I've decided to become this organized person, I need to constantly remind myself how great it is, the clarity, the efficiency.
And simultaneously minimize any perceived benefits of the old chaotic way. Like, oh, that creative mess wasn't really creative, it was just stressful.
You're essentially rewriting the narrative to support the new behavior, talking yourself into it.
You absolutely are. You have to reinforce the new identity. Another tactic is finding cognitive overlap, looking for common ground between the old and new.
How would that work with organization?
Maybe you tell yourself, I wasn't messy, I was spontaneous. Now I'm channeling that spontaneity into structured bursts of activity. You find a way to integrate a positive aspect of the old self-image into the new one.
Makes the change feel less like a total rejection of who you were?
Exactly. It softens the break, but there's a more passive and often destructive strategy: avoidance.
Just ignoring the conflict.
Or more specifically, actively avoiding information that increases the dissonance. If you've started getting organized but secretly still feel like a fraud,
You might avoid reading articles about productivity or shy away from projects that demand organization.
precisely. You seek out things that confirm your existing beliefs, even negative ones, and dodge anything that challenges them or highlights the uncomfortable gap. You might even unconsciously sabotage your own efforts.
This is where that initial earned competence from Section 1 becomes so vital, isn't it?
It's the anchor. If you have concrete proof, I successfully cleaned my desk for a week based on the environmental changes you made.
Skinner. That evidence helps you fight the internal voice saying, you're inherently messy, this won't last.
It provides the reinforcement needed to push through the dissonance, Festinger. You're actively building a case for the new identity, fighting the mind's natural resistance to change.
Okay, so we need consistency to manage dissonance. But does that mean the ultimate goal is a life with zero tension? Perfect internal harmony.
That sounds nice, but Viktor Frankl would strongly disagree. He saw perpetual comfort, the absence of tension, as a sign of psychological ill health, not the ideal state.
Really? Why is tension good?
Frankl argued that the tension between what one has achieved and what one ought to achieve, the gap between your current reality and your potential or goals, is essential. It's an inherent part of being human, and it's necessary for mental well-being.
So striving creates meaning.
Exactly. Eliminating all tension means eliminating striving, which ultimately eliminates meaning. You need that dynamic pull towards something better.
So the goal isn't a perfectly static, ordered house forever. It's a house that's in order now, but ready, perhaps, for the next project, the next challenge.
Beautifully put. It's about maintaining a state of readiness and directed effort. And that requires defining what you're striving for. It requires goals.
Which brings us to Jordan Peterson's work on the importance of goals.
Yes, Peterson connects this to our higher-level cognitive functions. Our ability to use language and abstract thought allows us to construct models of a desired future goals.
And these goals aren't just wishful thinking.
No, they are deeply rooted in regulating our emotions and even our basic biological drives. A well-defined goal provides a framework, a hierarchy of importance.
How does that stop chaos?
Yes.
Like just raw impulses taking over?
Peterson argues that without a coherent, overarching goal structure, our basic drives and emotions become a competing mess. You might feel lust and guilt at the same time, or cold, hungry, and anxious simultaneously, with no way to prioritize.
A state of internal conflict.
Exactly, intrapsychic conflict. Defining a worthy goal, a vision of your future, responsible self organizes this internal chaos. It gives the system direction.
It tells you what's important now, what needs to be sacrificed or endured for the sake of that future.
Precisely. You subordinate the immediate desire for comfort or distraction or indulgence to the longer-term aim of becoming who you need to be. The goal provides the why.
But what if the goal is fuzzy? Like, I want to be a better person or I want to be successful.
Oh, that's where it falls apart. Vague dreams are incredibly detrimental. Why? Because they make it incredibly easy to rationalize small failures, small compromises all day long.
Oh, I'll start being responsible tomorrow.
Just this one little exception won't hurt. Dan Ariely's work on procrastination touches on this. We procrastinate often because the cost of not acting feels abstract and distant.
Like saving for retirement. The pain of not saving is decades away, maybe?
But the pleasure of spending that money now, or the comfort of avoiding the task now, is immediate and concrete.
So we're wired for immediate gratification.
It's certainly easier to form habits around consumption and avoidance than around long-term beneficial actions. Vague goals offer no defense against this.
So the antidote is specificity.
Crystal clarity. This comes back to James Clear again with the concept of implementation intentions.
Not just what you want to do, but when and how.
Exactly. Don't just say, I want a clean house. Commit to. Every day at 6 p.m. right after work, I will spend 15 minutes clearing surfaces in the kitchen and living room.
It leaves no room for ambiguity or excuses.
It provides a concrete, measurable action. You either did it or you didn't. That clarity cuts through the fog of rationalization.
And completing that specific action feeds back into the competence loop we talked about with Skinner.
Perfectly. Each completed implementation intention is another piece of evidence for your competence, strengthening the new identity and making it easier to resist dissonance and stay focused on the worthy goal. It all connects.
Okay, we've journeyed from the external controlling the environment to the internal managing dissonance and setting clear goals. Now, how do these pieces come together to build something lasting? A truly secure, resilient self.
This is the transformation stage, where repeated actions start to fundamentally shift your sense of who you are.
It's about identity then.
Deeply, James Clear emphasizes this. Habits are the embodiment of identity. Every time you perform an action aligned with your desired self, you're casting a vote for that identity.
So making your bed isn't just making your bed.
It's a vote for being the kind of person who starts the day with discipline. Clearing the sink is a vote for being someone who handles their responsibilities promptly.
Each small act of order reinforces the identity of an orderly, competent person.
Exactly. And this ties directly into Albert Bandura's research on self-efficacy and motivation. He found that the power of goals doesn't just come from having them.
But from how we feel about our progress towards them.
Precisely. We respond evaluatively to our own behavior. Once you start linking self-satisfaction to achieving these small, concrete goals, I feel good about myself because I followed my implementation intention today. That becomes a powerful motivator to persist.
So success breeds satisfaction, which breeds more effort.
Yes, but Bandura noted something crucial. Most individual successes don't bring lasting satisfaction. We adapt.
We reach the goal, feel good for a bit, and then what?
We set the bar higher. We make our positive self-evaluation contingent on achieving the next level.
It's like climbing a ladder. You clean the desk, feel competent, then your internal self says, okay, desk is handled. What about that messy closet?
That's exactly the process, a self-scaling ladder of competence, as you put it earlier. You prove capability at one level, which gives you the confidence and earns you the self-respect to tackle the next, slightly harder challenge.
And this constant cycle of setting goals, achieving them, feeling good, and then setting slightly higher goals, that sounds like the engine of personal growth.
It really is, and it's the core mechanism behind what Angela Duckworth calls grit.
Passion and perseverance for long-term goals.
Right. Her research found a strong link between grit and having a growth mindset, the belief that your abilities aren't fixed but can be developed through effort.
So people with grit keep going because they believe their efforts will eventually lead to competence, even if it's hard.
Exactly. They see challenges not as roadblocks, but as opportunities to learn and improve. They stick with things longer, earn better grades, persist through difficulties. That initial act of ordering your environment is like the first step in cultivating that gritty mindset. You prove to yourself you can make a change.
This internal security, this earned competence, it feels like it must have effects beyond just behavior. Does it impact us physiologically?
Oh, profoundly. The sense of safety, predictability, and control you create in your immediate environment sends powerful signals to your nervous system.
This is where the polyvagal theory comes in.
Yes, Stephen Porges's work. He describes this uniquely mammalian neural system, the myelinated vagus nerve, which acts like a sophisticated brake on our primitive survival responses.
The vagal brake, what does it do?
It rapidly regulates heart rate and inhibits the fight-or-flight system, the sympathetic nervous system. When the vagal brake is active, it allows for feelings of calm, safety, social engagement, and clear thinking.
Okay, so how does a messy house or a chaotic schedule mess with my vagal brake?
Your nervous system is constantly scanning the environment for cues of safety or danger. Chronic disorder, physical clutter, unpredictable schedules, constant low-level stress from unfinished tasks is interpreted as a subtle threat.
Even if it's not a lion chasing me, my nervous system picks up on the lack of safety.
Yes, this low-level, persistent danger signal keeps the sympathetic nervous system slightly activated and suppresses the calming influence of the vagal brake.
So I end up living in a state of mild, chronic fight or flight.
That's a good way to think about it. You become more reliant on that older sympathetic activation. This makes it harder to regulate your emotional state,
Leading to feeling overwhelmed easily, panic, maybe even anger or aggression.
Those are common manifestations. You lose access to that calm, regulated state needed for thoughtful response and connection. The simple, concrete act of imposing order, cleaning the space, sticking to the schedule sends a biological signal of safety.
Things are under control here.
Exactly. That signal allows the vagal brake to come back online. It restores your physiological capacity for calm, focus, and resilience. You're literally calming your nervous system by tidying your room.
Wow. Okay, so we have behavioral change, identity shifts, and now physiological regulation. This sets the stage for even deeper internal work like self-compassion.
It really does. Once you have a more regulated nervous system and a growing sense of competence, you're better equipped to engage with difficult emotions. Kristen Neff's work on self-compassion is key here.
How does that fit in?
Neff found that practicing self-compassion consistently allows adults to develop what she calls a secure attachment with themselves.
Like being your own reliable, supportive parent.
In a sense, yes. It creates a stable internal platform. You know that even if you fail or face criticism, your fundamental self-worth isn't on the line. You can offer yourself kindness and understanding instead of harsh judgment.
And that secure base makes it safer to take risks, to face challenges.
Absolutely. Without it, every setback feels catastrophic. But there's a crucial distinction Neff makes, borrowing from Chogyam Trungpa. We need to avoid the near enemy of self-compassion.
The near enemy. What's that?
Trungpa called it idiot compassion. It's all acceptance, all yin, without the necessary yang, the willingness to take action, set boundaries, or make difficult changes.
So it's just being passive and letting things slide. Complacency.
Exactly. True self-compassion, the kind Neff advocates, has a fierceness to it. Think of the mama bear.
Tender and nurturing, but fiercely protective.
Right. It combines kindness and self-acceptance with the willingness to act decisively for your own well-being. Ordering your house, setting those boundaries, sticking to your goals, that is an act of fierce self-compassion. It's taking responsibility for your own well-being.
And this foundation of competence, regulation, and fierce self-compassion, does it help with processing deeper wounds, like trauma?
It's often a necessary precursor. Peter Levine's work on trauma is incredibly relevant here. He talks about how trauma often involves an incomplete survival response.
Like the fight or flight energy getting stuck.
Exactly. The body mobilized to survive a threat, but the cycle wasn't completed, the energy wasn't discharged. This trapped energy then fuels trauma symptoms.
And Levine talks about reenactment, right? Repeating the traumatic pattern.
Yes, there's often a compulsive urge to somehow resolve the trauma, which paradoxically leads people to unconsciously recreate aspects of the original overwhelming situation in relationships, jobs, accidents.
So if the core feeling of the trauma was helplessness and chaos,
You might unconsciously create or be drawn to chaotic situations, hoping this time you can master it, but often just getting re-traumatized.
how does ordering your house help break that cycle?
Healing from trauma, according to Levine, requires completing those interrupted survival responses, discharging that trapped activation in a safe way. Suppressing it just creates more symptoms, anxiety, rage, numbness.
So where does cleaning fit in?
That initial, simple act of taking control of your immediate environment, organizing a drawer, completing a small, defined task, is a powerful corrective experience. It's an act of completion.
It directly counteracts the feeling of helplessness.
Precisely. You are proving to your nervous system in a very concrete way that you can have agency, you can create order, you can complete a task successfully. It's a microdose of mastery that begins to rewire the expectation of chaos.
It's like laying down new neural pathways based on competence instead of helplessness.
That's a great way to see it. Levine suggests that resolved trauma allows for an integration of opposites, the expansion and contraction, the heaven and hell, leading to profound self-renewal. Starting with that small, manageable act of order can be the first step on that journey of integration. #tag outro.
Wow. Okay, this has really connected a lot of dots. We started with something that seems almost trivial. Tidy your room and traced it all the way through to deep psychological and even physiological resilience.
It's quite a journey, isn't it? From the foundational power of environmental control and habit formation using Skinner and Clear to build that first bit of earned credit.
Which, as we saw, is the crucial antidote to feeling like a victim of circumstance.
Then using that earned self-respect as fuel to navigate internal conflict, the cognitive dissonance Festinger described.
And to set those challenging but meaningful goals that Frankl and Peterson highlighted, avoiding the trap of vague, paralyzing dreams.
And finally, seeing how these layers build upon each other to create a secure self. Boosting grit, calming the nervous system via the vagal brake Porges detailed.
Building fierce self-compassion, as Neff describes it, and even creating a pathway towards healing deeper wounds, like trauma, as Levine's work suggests.
So that initial simple act of bringing order to just one small corner of your world, it's not really about cleaning, it's about establishing measurable competence. Proof to yourself.
You stop waiting for the world or someone else to fix things. You become the agent of change in the one place you absolutely control.
Your immediate existence. It's profoundly proactive, essential for any kind of recovery or growth,
Oh,
really.
absolutely. Which leads us to a final thought, something for you, our listener, to chew on. We've spent this whole deep dive talking about the power of defining specific internal goals and creating order to combat internal chaos.
Right, the need for focus and boundaries.
But think about the external world we live in now. We're constantly told that freedom equals maximum choice. Endless options for everything, what to watch, what to buy, how to live, total customization.
Which sounds great on the surface. Maximum freedom.
But researchers like Barry Schwartz, talking about the paradox of choice, suggest something different. Does this explosion of options actually make us happier or more anxious?
His argument is that overwhelming choice often increases anxiety, stress, and dissatisfaction. Why? Because every single choice you make means actively rejecting countless other potentially better alternatives.
The opportunity cost of every decision skyrockets. Did I pick the best show? The optimal career path? The perfect brand of toothpaste?
It can lead to paralysis or constant second-guessing and regret.
So here's the provocative question for you. We talked about setting your internal house in order by defining clear goals. But could it be that the external chaos of infinite choice is actually preventing you from doing that?
Is the sheer volume of options and possibilities paralyzing your ability to commit to one path, one goal, one set of actions needed to build that competence we've been discussing?
Maybe the most radical act of setting your house in order today isn't just about decluttering your physical space, but about radically simplifying your external choices.
Deliberately limiting your options to reclaim your focus and your agency. Perhaps taking back control starts not just with cleaning your desk, but with choosing one commitment, one goal, and pursuing it with singular focus, shutting out the noise of infinite alternatives.